What began as a blissful day, rich with joyful laughter and cherished family moments, took a devastating and unforeseen turn with a seemingly innocuous yet profoundly disturbing comment from my 4-year-old daughter. As we navigated the bustling afternoon traffic, her innocent remark sliced through the tranquility like a sharp blade. "Daddy, the girl in the trunk wants to be let out." The simplicity and directness of her words unleashed a torrent of icy dread that surged through my veins, transforming the once warm and comforting atmosphere inside the car into a cold, suffocating fog. If you are not subscribed, I recommend you subscribe and activate the bell so you don't miss any videos. My husband, who had been driving with an air of casual ease, suddenly became a figure frozen in palpable tension. The relaxed demeanor that had marked his presence behind the wheel turned into an unnerving rigidity, as if an invisible, oppressive weight had descended upon him. The lively, carefree expression that had once illuminated his face was replaced by a stark, unfeeling mask of fear. His healthy, rosy complexion drained to a ghostly pallor, reflecting the deep-seated terror he was desperately trying to suppress. The atmosphere inside the car shifted dramatically. The transformation in my husband was a jarring contrast to the previous serenity, emphasizing the profound impact of our daughter's innocent yet horrifying statement. The once lighthearted ambience was replaced by a suffocating tension, a heavy presence that filled the space where laughter and casual conversation had once flourished. Each second stretched into an eternity as we grappled with the chilling gravity of her words. The implications of her remarks sent shockwaves through our seemingly peaceful family outing, unraveling the fabric of normalcy we had once taken for granted. In a frantic and almost panicked movement, my husband cast a desperate, furtive glance at our daughter through the rearview mirror. His eyes, wide with a tumultuous mix of alarm and sheer terror, betrayed a profound, unspoken fear. They revealed a depth of unease that transcended mere concern, a visceral reaction to the nightmare our daughter had unintentionally unearthed. This raw, unspoken horror was something he had been desperately trying to keep buried beneath a fragile facade of normalcy. The illusion of our joyful outing was irrevocably shattered, replaced by an atmosphere thick with unvoiced tension and a palpable, smothering anxiety that clung to the air like a dark, oppressive fog. The stark contrast between the calm before the storm and the chaos that followed highlighted the profound impact of Sophia's words. Her innocent observation, while seemingly trivial to a child, had unearthed a hidden horror that my husband had tried so hard to conceal. The once secure and comforting bubble of our family life had been punctured, leaving us to confront the unsettling reality that lay beneath the surface of our everyday existence. His frantic, almost panicked movement betrayed a desperation he couldn't fully conceal. With a furtive glance at our daughter through the rearview mirror, his eyes wide with a blend of alarm and raw terror laid bare a profound, unspoken dread. They revealed an unease that cut deeper than mere concern, a visceral response to the nightmare our daughter had unwittingly uncovered. This raw, unspoken horror was something he had struggled to keep hidden beneath a fragile facade of normalcy. The illusion of our joyous outing shattered beyond repair, replaced by an atmosphere thick with unvoiced tension and a suffocating anxiety that clung to the air like a dark, oppressive shadow. "Sweetheart, that's such a chilling thing to say. You really shouldn't share such unsettling stories," he stammered, his voice trembling and barely concealing the fear lurking beneath his strained facade. His attempt at maintaining composure was painfully thin, wavering with every word. From my seat in the passenger side, I fixed him with a piercing gaze, my growing suspicion evident in every furrow of my brow and tightness of my jaw. The patience I had so diligently extended over the years was wearing thin, unable to mask the turmoil bubbling within me. "Should we pull over at the rest area?" I suggested, my tone thick with urgency and an unsettling distrust. Our 5 years of marriage had been a journey of unwavering support and commitment. I had stood by my husband's side as he immersed himself in his work, navigating the complexities of our shared life with a firm belief in the stability we had meticulously built together. Yet now, the comforting facade of our seemingly normal existence was being violently torn apart by the unnerving and inexplicable revelations from our daughter. Each moment felt like another thread unraveling, exposing a reality I had only vaguely sensed before but was now glaringly illuminated by her innocent words. The rest area loomed ahead as an island of potential refuge, a place where we might confront the disquieting revelations and seek some semblance of clarity. The car's tires crunched on the gravel as we pulled into the parking lot, the mundane sound contrasting sharply with the turmoil churning within me. I watched as my husband's face, usually so composed, was now a mask of barely contained panic. His hands gripped the steering wheel tightly, knuckles white against the dark leather, as if anchoring himself to the last vestiges of his composure. As we stopped the car and the engine fell silent, the oppressive tension remained, heavy and unspoken. I could almost feel the weight of his guilt pressing down on the vehicle, seeping into the very fabric of our lives. My heart pounded as I turned to Sophia, her wide eyes reflecting a puzzling innocence that only seemed to deepen the mystery. Her innocent remark had peeled back the layers of our life, revealing the dark underbelly of secrets that had been lurking just beneath the surface. We stepped out of the car, the cool air outside offering a fleeting respite from the stifling atmosphere within. As we walked towards the rest area, the peaceful surroundings seemed almost incongruous with the chaos that had erupted in our lives. The normalcy of the world outside felt like a cruel joke, a stark contrast to the upheaval we were experiencing. In the dim light of the rest area, I faced my husband with a resolve born of raw emotion and a desperate need for answers. The veneer of our life was gone, replaced by the stark reality that something profoundly wrong had been hidden from me. The unraveling threads of our marriage and our life together lay exposed, and the search for truth had become an imperative I could no longer ignore. As we sat down on a nearby bench, the weight of the moment was palpable. I looked at him, searching for any sign of the man I had once trusted implicitly. The fear in his eyes, the tremor in his voice, and the mounting tension between us spoke volumes about the depth of the deception. This was no longer just a matter of a chilling remark from our daughter, it was a harrowing revelation that demanded confrontation and resolution. The road ahead was uncertain, filled with questions that needed answers and truths that had to be faced. My resolve was unwavering as I prepared to delve into the heart of the mystery that had upended our lives. The comforting illusion of normalcy was gone, replaced by the harsh reality of betrayal and deceit. And as we stood on the precipice of this new, unsettling chapter, I knew that the only way forward was through the murky depths of the truth that lay ahead. Her seemingly harmless remark seemed to pry open a hidden truth that I had long sensed but never confronted directly. The atmosphere inside the car grew heavy with a palpable tension, an unspoken understanding hanging in the air as the gravity of the situation began to sink in. The profound and unsettling depth of our daughter's chillingly accurate insight cast a dark shadow over our once peaceful journey. The carefully constructed facade that my husband had so painstakingly maintained was now perilously close to crumbling. With each passing mile, the oppressive weight of an impending revelation bore down on us, threatening to dismantle the delicate illusion that had once held our lives together. The sense of dread that permeated the car was almost suffocating, with each moment stretching out as though time itself was conspiring against us. The eerie stillness between us was a stark contrast to the vibrant, happy conversations we had shared just moments before. As we continued our drive, it felt as if the very fabric of our reality was unraveling with every turn of the wheels, inching us closer to a truth that had been lurking in the shadows, waiting to be exposed. At the age of 27, I, Charlotte Clark, embarked on a journey of love and commitment with my beloved husband, Freddie, who was 31 at the time. Our union, a beautiful blend of shared dreams and mutual respect, was soon blessed with the arrival of our cherished daughter, Sophia. As she turned 4, Sophia had blossomed into a vibrant beacon of energy and joy, infusing our lives with an endless wellspring of happiness and laughter. Our days were a kaleidoscope of delightful chaos, filled with the warmth of family bonds and the unspoken comfort of togetherness. The vibrant tapestry of our lives now seemed threatened by an unsettling revelation, casting a shadow over the harmony we had so carefully cultivated. On a brilliantly radiant afternoon, with the golden rays of the sun pouring their warm embrace over our home, we found ourselves deeply engrossed in a vibrant and animated conversation about our plans for the upcoming weekend. My heart, brimming with excitement and anticipation, could hardly contain itself as I suggested with a hopeful smile, "How about we embark on an adventure to the zoo next Sunday?" The moment my words left my lips, Sophia's reaction was both immediate and profoundly heartwarming. Her eyes, glistening with pure, unfiltered joy, seemed to dance with excitement as she exclaimed, "Oh yes, I can't wait to see the giraffes." Her exuberance was so infectious that it felt as though it illuminated the entire room, infusing it with a palpable sense of happiness and warmth. Observing Sophia and Freddie in that precious moment, their faces radiating with genuine delight, I was overwhelmed with a deep sense of contentment and gratitude. Freddie, who had always been a steadfast pillar of kindness and dedication, continued to embody the ideal partner I had always hoped for. His unwavering love and commitment, which had been evident from the very beginning of our journey together, remained a constant source of joy and strength in our lives. On his days off, Freddie approached family activities with a sincere enthusiasm that made each shared experience feel extraordinary and memorable. Watching the effortless connection between him and Sophia, witnessing their bond grow and flourish so naturally, filled me with an immense sense of gratitude. It was a profound reminder of how incredibly fortunate I was to have such a devoted husband, allowing me to savor the seemingly perfect moments that defined our family life, moments that felt as though they were woven from the very essence of our collective dreams and love. Yet this tranquil and blissful chapter of our lives was abruptly and dramatically disrupted one evening when Freddie came home, his demeanor visibly weighed down by an intense exhaustion and a deep sadness that seemed to settle heavily on his shoulders. "You're being transferred to a different department?" I asked, my voice barely able to mask the swirling worry within me. "Yes," he responded, his voice laced with resignation and fatigue. "It's company policy. They want me to gain experience in various roles." As the gravity of his transfer to the company's most demanding department began to sink in, it became glaringly apparent that this change would drastically reduce the time he could spend with us. The announcement cast a long, somber shadow over the previously carefree existence we had cherished, leaving me engulfed in a growing tide of anxiety and apprehension about how this upheaval would disrupt the harmonious fabric of our family life. The impact of this unsettling news was acutely felt by our daughter, Sophia. "Daddy, are you not going to play with me anymore?" she inquired, her voice trembling with a mix of worry and sadness. Her innocent face, framed by her disheveled hair, was a poignant picture of vulnerability and concern. Freddie, visibly anguished by the depth of her question, looked down at her with profound regret and a heavy heart. With a tender and gentle touch, he caressed her hair, trying to offer solace amidst his own internal struggle. "I'll do my best to spend as much time with you as possible, Sophia," he assured her, his voice soft but laden with the weight of his sorrow and the daunting responsibilities of his new role. "We'll definitely go to the zoo again sometime," he promised, his words a fragile attempt to ease her fears and preserve the hope of future shared moments, even as the reality of his reduced presence loomed ominously over us. As I observed the deeply emotional scene unfolding between Freddie and Sophia, my heart felt as though it was being constricted by an invisible, merciless grip. The tender exchange between father and daughter, imbued with a palpable sense of regret and sorrow, evoked a tumult of emotions within me: fear, sadness, and an overwhelming foreboding of loss. The abrupt shift in Freddie's work situation, although it didn't involve a salary increase or relocation, seemed to upheave the very foundation of our familial stability. The realization that our cherished moments together would be significantly diminished plunged me into a profound sense of loneliness and despair. Amidst this emotional turmoil, it became glaringly evident that Freddie was struggling under the crushing weight of his new, relentless responsibilities. His inclination to immerse himself completely in his work had intensified to an unprecedented degree. My early efforts to assist him in balancing his career with family life fell short of making any meaningful impact. Despite his sincere intentions, his presence at home became increasingly rare, with late-night work sessions becoming an all-too-frequent norm. His new routine of attending client meetings and engaging in after-hours social events only further exacerbated the strain. Even his days off were encroached upon by work-related demands, which further eroded the delicate fabric of our family life. My anxiety and frustration reached a boiling point as I confronted Freddie about his grueling work schedule. "Can you take a day off next Sunday?" I implored, my voice trembling with desperation. "Sophia misses you, and you've been working excessively hard lately." His reaction was swift and harsh, leaving me reeling. "Who do you think I'm working so hard for? Should I just cancel client meetings and risk getting fired?" His defensive retort cut deeply, intensifying my sense of isolation. "That's not what I meant," I tried to clarify, masking the sting of his words. "I'm just worried about you." The emotional strain was palpable, and each passing day seemed to amplify the pressure of Freddie's demanding job and the strain it was placing on our family life. His irritation flared dramatically as he snapped at me, "That's none of your business anyway. Make sure you have money ready for next week's drinking party." His sudden and harsh shift in demeanor was both alarming and disheartening. The man who had once been a paragon of kindness and attentiveness now appeared as a shadow of his former self, overtaken by frustration and irritability. The mounting pressures of his job had evidently taken a severe toll on him, leaving him on edge and redirecting his accumulated stress toward me. To compound the issue, Freddie's reckless expenditure on client entertainment began to strain our finances, further undermining the stability we had once enjoyed together. The delicate balance we had cherished so deeply was slipping away, leaving me grappling with the mounting strain and uncertainty that now characterized our lives. Despite the genuine concern and frustration that weighed heavily on me, it was Freddie's increasingly tense and distant behavior that troubled me the most. His relentless work schedule seemed to push him to the brink, and I was becoming increasingly fearful for both his physical health and mental well-being. Desperation surged within me as I sought a strategy to persuade him to take a much-needed break before exhaustion overcame him completely. As the months dragged on, now 6 months since Freddie's transfer, his presence at home had diminished to the point where he was scarcely there except to sleep. This drastic change was not only affecting me, but also had a profound and painful impact on our daughter, Sophia. Her once vibrant and exuberant spirit had noticeably dimmed. Her eyes, once full of curiosity and joy, were now overshadowed by the painful absence of her father. The widening gap between us was palpable, unraveling the familial fabric we had worked so hard to nurture. It was evident that something had to give. Without intervention, our family's cohesion and Freddie's well-being were at grave risk. I was determined to find a solution that would enable Freddie to reconnect with us and restore some semblance of balance. The escalating strain on our lives was unsustainable, and I was resolute in my commitment to reclaiming the harmony that had once defined our family. As if the weight of our already fragile existence wasn't enough, life delivered another crushing blow. My mother, who had been battling a long-term illness for years, passed away unexpectedly in the hospital. The news struck me with the force of a lightning bolt, leaving me engulfed in a state of utter shock and disbelief. My father had died when I was very young, and my mother had been my sole remaining parent. The finality of her passing, compounded by the agonizing realization that I hadn't had a chance to engage in a meaningful conversation with her before her departure was an overwhelming blow. I was at home when the devastating news arrived, and the weight of my grief was so immense that I could barely summon the strength to move, let alone process the magnitude of my loss. To my profound disappointment, Freddie's reaction to this tragedy was not only underwhelming but astonishingly indifferent. His cold and detached demeanor in the face of my profound grief only deepened my sense of isolation and despair. It seemed as though his relentless work schedule had not only consumed his time, but had also drained him of any semblance of empathy or connection to our family's suffering. The combination of his punishing work hours, Sophia's growing sadness, and my own overwhelming grief left me feeling hopelessly alone amid this storm of turmoil. When Freddie's dispassionate question, "Hey, do I have to go to that funeral too?" sliced through the air, it left me utterly speechless. His nonchalant tone and lack of concern were almost more painful than the loss itself. Although his relationship with my mother had always been somewhat distant, she was still family. His complete lack of empathy and reluctance to offer any form of support or comfort during this agonizing time was both shocking and disheartening. Instead of extending a gesture of sorrow or offering any semblance of consolation, he chose to grumble about the inconvenience of attending the funeral, further deepening my sense of abandonment and loneliness during this profoundly painful chapter of my life. "What are you talking about? Of course you need to attend. This is a family funeral," I snapped, my voice trembling with a mix of anguish and frustration that I struggled to mask. The depth of my pain was so intense that it felt like it might consume me entirely. However, Freddie's response was the complete opposite of what I desperately needed. "Don't take it out on me." "Ugh, why does this have to happen now?" "I had my own plans," he grumbled, his voice dripping with irritation and a startling lack of empathy. The jarring contrast between his reaction and the compassionate, supportive person I once knew was nothing short of shocking. Once upon a time, Freddie had been my steadfast rock, the one who offered solace through gentle touches and shared in the profound depths of my sorrow. But now, his sighs of dissatisfaction and dismissive attitude made him seem like a distant stranger, an unsettling divergence from the loving partner I had envisioned spending my entire life with. As the days of mourning dragged on, Freddie's disengagement only intensified my sense of isolation and despair. He made no effort to assist with any of the funeral arrangements, leaving me to navigate this heart-wrenching ordeal on my own. On the day of the service, his demeanor was a cold and unsettling mix of silence and detachment. His minimal participation was a stark contrast to the supportive presence I had so desperately hoped for. As soon as the final rites were completed, he announced, "It's over now, right?" I'm heading home first, and promptly left without extending a single hand to help with the post-funeral cleanup. My initial bewilderment and frustration gradually gave way to a profound sense of disillusionment. I was emotionally spent, the anger I felt dissolving into a deep, perplexing disappointment. Despite the pressures of his demanding job, his behavior was inexcusable. I was left grappling with how my husband had become so emotionally detached and indifferent. Beneath the surface of simmering frustration, I continued to tidy up with Sophia's small, comforting presence beside me. Her company, though modest, provided a glimmer of solace amidst the chaotic aftermath. Once the cleanup was finally finished, I decided to make my way to my parents' house, despite its close proximity to our own. I needed to say a final goodbye and spend some quiet moments reminiscing about my mother, seeking a bit of comfort and closure. As I arrived at the house, my heart was heavy with grief and a profound sense of loss. It was then that I stumbled upon a shocking discovery that would add yet another layer of distress to the already tumultuous days I had endured. "Mom, wait a moment," my heart leapt into my throat as we pulled up to my parents' house. Sophia's entire demeanor had shifted dramatically. Her previously calm expression was now charged with urgency as she hurried toward the back room. I had taken her to visit my mother's house many times before, but I had never seen her react with such fervor. My concern and curiosity were piqued as I followed her into the dimly lit room, where she was feverishly tugging at the drawer of an old, weathered dresser. The drawer she was focused on was the second from the bottom, its wood worn and creaky from years of use. It was as if some invisible force had guided her to this particular spot. Her small hands worked swiftly, revealing an old hand mirror nestled within. My breath caught in my throat as I took in the sight. This mirror had been a cherished possession of my mother's, so precious that she had rarely used it and kept it securely hidden away. I had never even had the opportunity to see it myself, let alone imagine that Sophia would have known of its existence. The mere thought that she could have discovered it by sheer accident seemed utterly implausible. "Hold on, how did you know this was here?" I asked, my voice trembling with a mixture of disbelief and astonishment. "And what do you mean Grandma wanted me to have it?" Sophia, her expression imbued with an almost otherworldly serenity, responded in a way that defied all logic and reason. "When Grandma was sleeping earlier, she told me that you were feeling sad and asked me to give this to you." Her words, delivered with a chilling calmness, left me reeling. It was as though the thin barrier separating our world from the next had momentarily dissolved, allowing a profound message to seep through. I was left in a state of utter disbelief, grappling with the notion that this was no mere coincidence, but rather a deeply significant and mysterious sign. Driven by an overwhelming need to understand the source of her astonishing insight, I began to question Sophia with a series of intense and probing inquiries. I asked about our dinner plans for the upcoming evening, the very thoughts racing through my mind, and even my most private reflections during the funeral details so intimate and obscure that no ordinary child could possibly have access to them. To my utter amazement, Sophia answered each question with a level of accuracy that bordered on the supernatural. It became increasingly clear that she possessed an extraordinary, almost otherworldly gift and uncanny ability to tap into the deepest recesses of human thought and emotion. "Wow. Sophia, this is simply astounding. You seem to have an uncanny ability to know everything," I exclaimed, my voice quivering with a mixture of sheer amazement and disbelief as I gently ran my fingers through her hair. The concept that such an extraordinary gift could exist in reality felt almost too fantastical to be true. As I grappled with the weight of her revelation, Sophia stood before me with a newfound confidence, her posture exuding self-assuredness as her hand rested proudly on her hip. Her radiant smile and the glimmer of satisfaction in her eyes spoke volumes about her deep understanding of her own remarkable abilities. The magnitude of this revelation was overwhelming, evoking within me a profound sense of awe and an insatiable curiosity about the enigmatic nature of my daughter's gifts. "That's right," Sophia said, her voice steady yet imbued with a gravity that sent a shiver down my spine. "Sophia knows about Dad too." The calmness in her tone was in stark contrast to the growing dread that churned within me. "What do you mean?" I asked, my mind racing as a wave of unease washed over me. The revelation that Sophia was about to deliver was both staggering and deeply unsettling, leaving me teetering on the edge of a profound emotional precipice. Several weeks had passed since the somber and heart-wrenching occasion of my mother's funeral, and I found myself navigating through the fog of grief and disillusionment. One evening, I casually mentioned to Freddie, "By the way, I'm planning to visit a friend with Sophia next Sunday." As he prepared to leave for work, his reaction was abrupt and revealing, starkly contrasting with the nonchalance of my statement. He stopped dead in his tracks, an unmistakable flash of genuine discomfort crossing his face. "Really? Oh no, I'm off that day." "That's unfortunate," he responded, his voice carrying a disingenuous note of regret that did little to mask his underlying annoyance. I managed to suppress a bitter smile, the realization hitting me with a jolt that the affection I once felt for Freddie seemed to have evaporated entirely. His feigned disappointment only served to underscore the emotional abyss that had yawned between us, highlighting the stark contrast between the closeness we once shared and the growing emotional distance that now defined our relationship. This revelation was a painful reminder of how far we had drifted apart. The warmth and connection I had once believed to be the foundation of our relationship had seemingly dissolved into an emotional void. His insincere regret, coupled with the casual disregard for my plans, served as a glaring testament to the deep-seated issues festering beneath the surface of our marriage. It was as though the very essence of our bond had been eroded, replaced by a cold, dispassionate shell of what once was. On the day in question, I set out with Sophia, the weight of recent revelations heavy on my mind. We spent an hour meandering aimlessly, the absence of direction mirroring the disarray in my thoughts. When we eventually returned home, Sophia's sudden shout, "Dad, he's over there," jolted me from my reverie. Her pointed gesture directed me toward the garage. Following her indication, I approached the garage, its shutter firmly shut, as if it were sealing away secrets too painful to confront. Drawing a deep breath to steady my nerves, I knocked firmly on the shutter and called out, "Freddie, I know you're in there." Open up. The response that came was fraught with an unmistakable edge of surprise and guilt. "Ha, Charlotte. I thought you and Sophia had plans." His voice carried a note of defensiveness that did little to mask his unease. "It's canceled. If you're heading somewhere, we'd like to join you," I insisted, sensing his reluctance to face me and his attempt to avoid confrontation. Determined, I lifted the shutter, catching Freddie completely off guard. What are you doing?" "I don't have any special plans," he protested feebly, his voice betraying a hint of panic. As the shutter rose fully, the sight that greeted me was both unsettling and revealing. Freddie was frantically shoving a suit into a bag, his movements hurried and disorganized. The image of him desperately trying to conceal his actions struck me with a jarring blend of dark humor and profound sorrow. The frantic and clumsy nature of his attempts to hide his tracks only deepened my sense of betrayal. The fragile veneer of our shared life was disintegrating before my eyes, and the harsh reality of Freddie's deceit was glaringly apparent. In the wake of these harrowing revelations that had upended our world, we clung to a fragile hope of restoring some semblance of normalcy. We decided to embark on a family drive, naively believing that a change of scenery might offer a brief respite from the overwhelming tension and disarray that had come to define our lives. However, this attempt at solace was quickly overshadowed by the grim reality that continued to unravel before us. During this ill-fated excursion, Sophia's innocent yet chilling remark cut through the fragile veneer of our situation. "Daddy, the girl in the trunk wants to be let out." Her words, seemingly a child's idle fantasy, were in fact a haunting reflection of the sinister truths lurking beneath the surface of our once ordinary existence. The revelation that Freddie had been involved in heinous crimes, such as murder and arson, had already shattered our sense of security. And now Sophia's unsettling observation brought these dark realities into even sharper focus. Her innocent clarity, juxtaposed with the grim truths we had uncovered, served as a stark reminder of the profound and disturbing undercurrents that had been hiding in plain sight. The devastating discovery of Freddie's involvement in heinous crimes, such as murder and arson, obliterated any remaining illusions of stability within our once secure world. The realization that the man I had loved and trusted was entangled in such egregious misconduct plunged me into an abyss of profound sorrow and disillusionment. The fabric of our lives, once woven with threads of trust and affection, had been irreparably torn apart, leaving me grappling with the enormity of our loss. The depth of betrayal struck me with staggering force when I unearthed the full extent of Freddie's deception. His demanding work schedule, which I had begrudgingly accepted as a necessary sacrifice for our family, was nothing more than a carefully constructed facade. This facade was meticulously designed to obscure his role in a department devoted to concealing corporate scandals and erasing uncomfortable truths. The relentless hours that had seemed so unrelenting and consuming were, in fact, a smokescreen for his elaborate schemes of misconduct. The stark realization that Freddie had been actively engaged in orchestrating cover-ups of egregious wrongdoing was both shocking and disheartening. When I confronted him with undeniable evidence of his duplicity, it unleashed a torrent of consequences. Freddie's abrupt resignation and subsequent imprisonment were the direct results of his exposure. The betrayal was so profound that it left me reeling, struggling to come to terms with the devastating reality of my situation. The life I had once known was shattered, and the person I had trusted most had orchestrated a world of deceit and corruption behind closed doors. Now, I find myself facing the daunting and solitary task of raising our daughter, Sophia, alone. Amidst the swirling chaos and profound grief, a sliver of solace emerges from Sophia's unwavering clarity and pure honesty. Her words, untainted by the deceit that had plagued our past, reflect the unblemished essence of her spirit. This purity serves as a beacon of hope amidst the storm, compelling me to channel all my strength and devotion into nurturing her with unconditional love and care. Despite the overwhelming challenges that lie ahead, I remain resolute in my belief in Sophia's promising future and the boundless potential that awaits her. As I navigate through this tumultuous chapter of our lives, I cling to the hope that truth and integrity will guide us through the darkness. I am determined to rebuild and forge a new path forward, one that honors the memory of the life we once had and paves the way for a brighter and more hopeful future. The road ahead may be fraught with difficulties and uncertainties, but I am steadfast in my commitment to creating a nurturing and supportive environment for Sophia. Her presence, her innocence, and her resilience are the sources of strength that sustain me as we embark on this journey of healing and renewal. Through the storm, I am guided by the light of her unwavering spirit, and it is with this hope that I step into the future, ready to face whatever challenges may come, fortified by the love and resolve that define our new beginning. As we wrap up this intense and emotional journey, we're left grappling with the profound impact of a simple yet chilling remark from a 4-year-old. During what was meant to be an ordinary family drive, our daughter's innocent words, "Daddy, the girl in the trunk wants to be let out," unraveled a web of hidden truths and deep-seated fears that had been lurking beneath the surface of our lives. This revelation forced us to confront uncomfortable realities and reassess everything we thought we knew about our world and each other. Now, I'd love to hear from you. What have you learned from this story? Is there something that resonates with you, something you can apply to your own life? Please share one thing you've learned and how you plan to bring it into practice in the comments below. Your insights and reflections can be incredibly valuable as we all navigate our own journeys through life's complexities. If you found this video meaningful, please leave your comment below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content that explores the depths of human experience and relationships. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to sharing more with you soon.